taglia gli spaghetti al dente e un partigiano come presidente, con l'autoradio sempre nella mano destra, un canarino. Well, hello to all of our agents and welcome. This is the third webinar in our 10-part series, Selling Europe. And today, who would not love this one? Timeless Tuscan Treasures. We are recording this on Zoom. It will be noted on our Facebook page, and it'll also be on our YouTube channel. We'll put that on the Facebook page as well. Welcome again. So whether you've been to Tuscany or not, our goal is to give you information so that when your clients request Tuscany, you have become the knowledgeable professional. So whether you've already been and you're adding to that knowledge, or whether you've never been and you're taking in bits of what we say so that it'll help you sell Tuscany, that's what we are here for today. I'm Susan Lawrence from Boutique Escapes, and I'm going to take a moment to have the team introduce themselves.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Peter Lawrence.
Hello, all. I'm Sandy Vellaconia.
Thank you, Sandy and Peter. And now I'm going to let Sandy give everyone just a brief outline of the philosophy of Boutique Escapes.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on our Timeless Tuscan Treasures event here. Boutique Escapes has been around for some 20 plus years and was started by myself and sister Sharon. We now have Susan and Peter who joined us a number of years ago. Our philosophy of travel is making sure that people have a great location when they travel with Boutique Escapes in Europe. No different than when you buy a house. It's all about location for good schools, close to a shopping area, maybe a nice walking trail for you. Same with a hotel in Europe for your clients. We want them to have something fabulous, either right outside the door or within a 5 or 6 minute walk. So that might be the Trevi Fountain in Rome, Trafalgar Square in London, perhaps the Notre Dame and the Latin Quarter in Paris. Someplace that's just a little more special than just any old hotel in Europe. We think that the city is the destination, not the hotel. So we would rather see your clients in a spectacular location in a superb 3-star than a 4-star by a train station that has the splashy big marble desk. We want to see them right in the core of the city, in the heart. So now I will turn it back over to Susan.
Thank you, Sandy. So to remind everyone, Boutique Escapes sells the experience. We want our agents to let their clients know that Europe has a slower pace. We suggest you let your clients know that the culture is different. It is not better, it is not worse, just different. But they shouldn't expect the life they have in North America to be in Europe. After all, it's why we travel. We want to experience what is different, what is unique, what is somehow not the same from what we have. So our suggestion to you is to let the clients know that the more of an open mind they can keep, the more they will enjoy the experience. So when selling Tuscany, we often suggest that clients have Florence as the base. So whether they've been to Florence or not, we can have them in Florence and they can do day trips to Tuscany. Now, some clients will have been to Europe, been to Florence before. They may be requesting 5 nights, maybe 7 nights in Tuscany. And that's fantastic because we have many small villages, many areas where clients can use that as a base, or we can have them move to different areas of Tuscany. Tuscany is rich in history and culture. There are many beautiful medieval towns. There are beautiful bed and breakfasts. There are hotels we can put clients in. And for those who want a little bit more of a rustic feel, we have agriturismos. Agriturismos mean that the clients are staying on a working farm, whereas a bed and breakfast is more of a beautiful villa that's been renovated, a big house where clients get a room in the house, and obviously they have a bathroom in there and other amenities. So there's the difference between bed and breakfast and an agriturismo. Certainly in cities themselves and in the countryside, we do have beautiful hotels as well. But honestly, we find that clients who want the real Tuscan experience, they're looking for a bed and breakfast. They may want to be farther away from a medieval town. So why not have both in there? They can do a town, they can do a village, and they can do a bed and breakfast. So what we're saying here is stay in the heart of Tuscany itself, explore the little nooks and crannies, dining on specialties of the region every step of the way, and of course, enjoying the wine. If clients choose to stay in a bed and breakfast, we believe you should let them know that if they're going to be having a car, if they've got a vehicle they've rented, they probably want to spend a day with a driver so that they can visit wineries and really indulge in the wine. Just like anywhere else, you have to be careful of how much wine you consume if you're going to be behind the wheel. Tuscans love life. It is truly la dolce vita. So do encourage the clients to take their time, enjoy that slow life, observe, sit back, and enjoy the moment. After all, they will be in Tuscany. Let's get started, and I'm gonna put up a map here, so take a look. We're gonna look at this white area. Most of what we talk about today is going to be Tuscany. We're gonna put 1 foot into Umbria near the end where we talk about Assisi, and then we're gonna put 1 foot into Liguria, the green area at the top on the left there, and we're gonna talk about the Cinque Terre. So with no further ado, I'm gonna put up the map with Florence at the top there. You can see Firenze, and then below that Siena, and I'm going to let Peter take over and talk about Siena.
Thank you, Susan. About 50 miles due south of Florence is the beautiful hilltop Tuscan must-see city of Siena. The heart of the city is the massive shell-shaped Piazza del Campo, one of the most beautiful piazzas in all of Italy. The square's most prominent structures are the Palazzo Pubblico, which you see across, still used today for municipal offices, and also the imposing Torre del Mangia, which can be admired from the piazza, or clients can take the 400 steps to the top for magnificent views of Siena and the Tuscan countryside. And you can see the tower right there. It is also here that the famous horse race, the Palio, you might have heard of it, takes place every year in July and August. Your clients will certainly want to sit down at one of the restaurants across from the Palazzo to soak in the atmosphere of the piazza, like I did 1 year ago, almost to the day. After, they will want to explore the UNESCO World Heritage Site Historic Center streets and alleys with its quaint shops and restaurants. I haven't had lunch yet, and that looks very appetizing. So after wandering the quaint historic streets of Siena, a short wander from the Piazza del Campo is another must-see in Siena, the 14th century Duomo, Siena's cathedral. The marble facade is certainly very impressive, so if clients do not have a lot of time, they can enjoy the exterior just by itself. If timing is good and they're able to go inside, they will be equally impressed by the lavishly decorated marble interior, as well as works of art by many Italian masters, including sculptures by a young Michelangelo. Enjoy the bells of Santa Maria Assunta.
Okay, now we're going to head on and we're going to go a little bit further west, take a look at where San Gimignano is, and then just further to the west, we were going from Siena to San Gimignano, just to the west of Siena. Not a long drive, but a drive over beautiful Tuscan roads. This is an area where you're not going to find a superhighway. You can see on the map here, there is a superhighway here at Firenze to Siena, the Firenze-Siena superhighway. We're off of that highway and we're traveling these small roads to the town of San Gimignano. San Gimignano is on most tours from Florence. When clients do a day tour from Florence into Tuscany, they'll do Siena, and more than likely San Gimignano is part of that. There is a reason for that. San Gimignano is one of the most beautiful small medieval villages that you're going to find in Tuscany. It is known for its skyline. You can see the skyline from many miles, many kilometers away, and it almost helps you keep on track as to where you're going. As you're going up and down these hills and these roads, you can spot these towers of San Gimignano. At one time, there were 72 towers in this 13th century walled city. Today, there are 14 of them. And what's interesting about this, these towers is built by the wealthy people of San Gimignano to show their power, their might, their wealth. Once urban development hit hundreds of years later, many small villages got rid of their towers. They started using them as housing complexes. They tore them down to use the bricks for something else in the village. San Gimignano, however, has 14 incredibly well-preserved towers that remain. So a beautiful skyline to drive up to. And once you arrive, you really get to see and enjoy the architecture, the medieval architecture that is San Gimignano. Here, this picture of the main square here gives you a really good idea of how well preserved these towers are. The picture that you're looking at here does not show a very busy square. It's also a cooler time of year. If clients are here pretty much any time between May and the end of September, this square is going to be very busy during the day. Everybody wants to go to San Gimignano with good reason. So if clients can stay here overnight or stay in the region overnight, they will get to experience what is magical about this small village in the evening. So here's one picture of the main square. Here's one of the small streets in the summertime, and you can see each side of it, there are shops. You're going to find pretty much anything you need here, including beautiful pieces of art to touristic pieces of art. Take a look here. You'll see there are no vehicles. Outside of this main gate is the roadway. So there's a parking lot on the right, and outside of the ground parking lot, an open air. Then there's a parking lot underground, but then there's a street in front here. You cannot go through these streets with a vehicle. So if clients are going to stay, we would have somebody help them with their luggage when they arrive at this gate to take the luggage to the hotel. Or clients can take it on their own. That's fine as well. So continuing on, another small street in San Gimignano, beautiful little side street. Some of the items you're going to find here, typical salamis of the area. You're going to find these beautiful, take a look at that bottle. If that doesn't bring you back, maybe 30 years ago, sitting and grabbing a cheap bottle of Chianti to enjoy with the pizza. There it is in that straw basket. Limoncello, also ceramics. So I mentioned some beautiful ceramics. Here's a shop with beautiful ceramics from normally from the south of Italy, but also a touristic kind. So bring back a gift, bring something back for a china cabinet at home to remind yourself of this beautiful village. Now, what I love about San Gimignano, as you're walking past the square on your right, you see these signs, and one says view. So it's a view over the Tuscan region. So as you continue walking through this, what seems like almost never ending archway that's quite dark, even during the day, you come up to this magnificent opening. And on the right, you can see the lookout, and amazing. You have these incredible views over the Tuscany region. Keep in mind, if clients are here overnight, they can pop out here early in the morning as the sun is rising. Take a look at the light over the Tuscan hills in early morning. Nobody else will be around. Or once the tourists have left, they can go at dusk and have a look at the magic of the sun hitting this region. On the way out, walking towards the gate in the evening. And then as you exit that gate, this is what you see. This is one of the walls, these 13th century walls. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Piazza of San Gimignano, and here it is farther away as we are leaving during dusk. And I do see some questions perhaps coming up, which I will address at the end. So if you don't mind, continue with your questions and we will have a look at that at the end. So now I'm going to pass it over to Peter, who's going to talk about Volterra and the surroundings.
Okay, thank you, Susan. So Volterra is about 20 miles west of San Gimignano, a medieval walled hilltop town that's history goes back almost 3,000 years to the 9th century, BCE. If clients are looking for something a bit off the beaten path, one that may not see as many tourists as, say, Siena or San Gimignano, and with a medieval charm to it, then Volterra is certainly worth the stop. The majestic protective walls were built during the 5th to 4th century BCE and originally spanned about 5 miles, parts of which are still visible today. The Roman amphitheater and baths, which were actually a former garbage dump and a soccer pitch, discovered very much by accident, date from the 1st century AD, visible from a terrace on the edge of the old city. Its main square, Piazza dei Priori, is one of Italy's most beautiful squares. Its cathedral was completed in 1120 AD, and although rather unassuming on the outside, it contains beautiful works of art and certainly worth the visit. While strolling its narrow medieval streets, clients can taste its typical products, visit the shops where they can find many ideas for souvenirs, especially local alabaster handmade objects for which Volterra is famous. Not far from Volterra is a little unassuming Tuscan town of Latico, the hometown of Andrea Bocelli, where there's an outdoor amphitheater called the Teatro del Silenzio. It's used only twice a year. In July, where Andrea Bocelli performs 2 outdoor concerts. It was, of course, canceled last year, but so far is scheduled for this year. If clients are Andrea Bocelli fans and are traveling in July, this would be an unforgettable experience for them. Now, while in Tuscany, how about a little bit of sightseeing for your palate? Have Boutique Escapes book your clients on a tour of a family-run pasta factory where they still bag the pasta by hand. We can book your clients into a cooking class, a pasta making class, and maybe after spending the morning on a truffle hunting experience. Here we have a black truffle, and in the next picture, a much more aromatic and expensive white truffle, dug up by a trusty truffle hunting dog. After they enjoy the fruits of that's Paco. After they can enjoy the fruits of their labor, fresh pasta with fresh shaved truffle. Another Tuscan specialty is called gnudi, or ricotta and spinach dumplings. Cheese tastings, this shows an image of pecorino cheese, which comes from sheep, aging in a cellar. So cheese tastings, salami tastings, and again, another reminder that I haven't had lunch yet.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, so let's go on and talk about some of the accommodations in the area, or take a look at what we can offer your clients as far as accommodation goes at bed and breakfast. And we are going to be in the heart of what is known as Chianti Classico region. So clients who want to go to Tuscany, clients who want to experience the food and wine, clients who want the best, some of the best of what the area has to offer, will want some of the important wine towns in Chianti Classico, the Chianti Classico region, which is very close to where this X is on this image here. So we've gone from Siena to San Gimignano to Volterra. Now we're going over to the Chianti Classico region, and we're going to start in at a little bed and breakfast. Before we get there, why Chianti Classico? Why not just Chianti? So Chianti Classico, and part of the reason for this designation is because the Chianti Classico wines offer a little bit more acidity than the Chianti that you see at the bottom, which would be the Chianti DOCG wine. The reason for this acidity is because the vines themselves are planted in vineyards with a higher elevation. So this makes them slightly different than in flavor from the Chianti that you're seeing on this slide here, where the blue ribbon is. Now, what does it do to the flavor? It gives layering of violet, spice, of bright cherry, of a deep, luscious cherry in that layering. Now, what does this do to the tannin and the structure? With quality, you continue to have this taste of fruit, and you continue to have a taste of the earth that it was grown in. You're also going to see, as we go through some of the wineries, that the wine itself is kept in large oak barrels, which means you're not going to get so much of an oak nose on a Chianti Classico. And you're going to see that in the pictures that are coming up. But this is the region that we're looking at for people who would love a beautiful Chianti wine. We're looking at Chianti Classico region. Here's a bed and breakfast for you. This one in particular is on and when I say bed and breakfast, I'm not talking about an accommodation that's inside a town. This is on the outside. So clients can either be taken there by a private transfer, or clients might want to rent a vehicle. So if they've got a car, we would give them the exact directions on how to get to the bed and breakfast that we've offered. They will find themselves at the bed and breakfast, and then why not relax? Take a look at what you're staring at. You've got your typical trees of Tuscany, the cypress. We're going to see some olive trees soon, but look at that building itself. Absolutely something you will not find in North America. So take a look out of this direction. We're sitting on a chair and we're just staring at the beautiful hills of Chianti. And I do want to mention that this is mid-October. So look at the foliage that's there. Often people will ask, what's the best time of year to go? October's amazing. September's amazing. If they want heat and the beach, you probably want to go in July and August. But take a look at the views here. Just beautiful olive trees, more cypress in the background. And remember, we're in Tuscany. We're surrounded by vineyards. So continuing on, this is again, heart of Tuscany, beautiful vineyards. And this photo is taken from a very beautiful hotel in the middle of Tuscany. So continuing on, we're going to go to the town of Greve in Chianti, absolutely in the area of Chianti Classico, a beautiful little wine town to visit. They do an annual wine festival. It usually starts the second Thursday of September. Beautiful time to go. If clients do want to experience the wine festival, they will have to book early, because not only will you have tourists who come to see it, you will have the wineries themselves who come in and bring their wares. You will have Italians that come to visit. So while it's exciting, you do want to have clients book ahead. Here we are in the main square, just an unassuming square. Each area of the square has these archways, and there are shops, restaurants, delis, tasting rooms all along the outside. It is worth a visit to this town. So if clients do have a vehicle, we would definitely give the idea and put a suggestion on the itinerary for clients to visit this town. Continuing on, we're going to head to one of our favorite wineries where we have clients do a wine tour and a dinner. This is actually the view off of their terrace, and you can see how we are definitely at elevation here for that Chianti Classico. This is the vineyard itself, just a beautiful area clients will have a look at. They'll go through the gate and enter under this beautiful wisteria overhang to get to this beautiful area where they will have this outdoor terrace to take a look at the area around them. I put this in here to show you. It's the first slide we have of the black rooster, which is the symbol for Chianti Classico. And just to show you how large this cork is, here we are standing beside the cork. Really gives you an idea of the size of that cork. Here we are inside. We're going to start the wine tour quickly here. We've got grapes hanging for Vinsanto, specialty wine of Italy, of course, where it's quite strong, and it's often recommended to dip your biscotti in the Vinsanto and then to have a bite of it. And we haven't had lunch yet, and that does sound good.
I want some.
Continuing on, you can see the size of the barrels here that they will be putting the Chianti Classico in. Again, this is a traditional large barrel, so that you're not getting as much oak on this one as you would from the wine that would be in the smaller barrels. And as you continue through the wine tour, they will take you by the area of wines that are very old. And if you've got a really great camera or really good eyes, you can see, how old some of these bottles are with dates on them. Take a look at this one, and continuing on to see that these haven't been touched for years and years. So very special stock down here. When clients are done, there is a beautiful, I think it's 10 different items they taste on the menu in this restaurant. It is definitely family style. You're eating at beautiful tables. This happens to be a group that we had at the winery, but you get a beautiful tasting, you get pairings with the food. So you get your entry dishes, you get your main course, you get your desserts, you get your, I mean, it just seems to go on forever and gives people an amazing experience for a wine tour and a winery lunch in Tuscany. So ending up with beautiful picture of wine and the grapes in the vineyards. Just to give you an idea, when clients do travel in Tuscany, they're on these small side roads. It does look like the picture. It looks like you've stepped inside a picture, and you can see just the scale with that woman walking on the ground there. An idea of what some of the wine rooms look like, the barrel rooms. And here we are we're arriving at the small village of Rada in Chianti, another one of the important wine villages. It is truly a one-horse town. There is one street and that is it. So the Black Rooster at the entrance, they are very proud of it. They are a Chianti Classico area. Here's the one street. Literally, you walk down this one street. Again, you don't see vehicles down this street. You can drive a car down here to drop off luggage. Would I suggest clients do it? Absolutely not, especially in high season, because it would take you forever. You'd have so many people walking. Better suggestion will be where we tell people to park their vehicle and then simply take their luggage up to the hotel. Here's a view from one of our fabulous hotels of the area. Take a look at that majesty outside that window. Imagine waking up to that. This is October. It's mid-October. Amazing, beautiful views. And I had to stick this slide in here. Just an unassuming deli. They had homemade pizza in the back. So I bought one slice, and I think Sand would probably confirm that we went back for maybe 3 or 4 more slices because just this one piece wasn't enough. It was fabulous. Another beautiful place in the same town. Remember, you're in the heart of Tuscany. You're now in Chianti Classico. You have unbelievable food and wine. This is one of the top restaurants in the area. Take a look. I don't know if you can figure it from the picture, but the size of that glass, you could literally swim in that glass. It's so big. Well, maybe not literally, but you get the idea. It is a huge glass. They do this so that you can really do your tasting, swirl that wine, take a great whiff of that nose and enjoy what you're getting out of that wine. So continuing on, this is just to show you, this is not mom and pop cooking. This is high-end food here. Continuing on, we have in fact, this was just something they put on the table at the end for a palate cleanser, and then a lovely little limoncello to end with. Continuing on, we're going to hit the wine region to the south, the M&M for Sandy.
Thank you, Susan. So we're now going to southern Tuscany. And although it can be done on a day tour from Florence or Rome, actually, but if people are driving on their own, it's a great area to stop in. I call these my M&M towns, not being candy, but certainly perhaps being adult candy, because I do love them. So Susan, if you could put your cursor on Montepulciano and then Montalcino, you can see by the dark color that is Umbria that we are getting close to the end of the region of southern Tuscany, which is why it can also be done from Rome on a day tour. Fantastic day tour actually from Rome. Okay, so what's special about these 2 wine towns? They are medieval and they are Renaissance. And if we think about our last webinar where we discussed how the Medici family brought the Renaissance into play into Florence, coming from the medieval times, you can see that this look of Montepulciano is very medieval. Look at that. It's, again, a walled town. You can see through the archway. That's not something typical of Renaissance. That's typical of medieval times, because that's when they'd have to be protecting their town because it would be under siege all the time. You can see the little restaurant on the right. Tiny, narrow, charming streets. This town in high season is packed. And the reason it is because it's so charming. This is a Renaissance style church. When they get to the town, most people will see it on this way in, and that is a sanctuary of the Madonna of San Baggio. If they want to stop in, there's an audio tour they can do for around €7. However, I just want to show, one, the alabaster beautifulness of this church. And two, the fact that it is a Renaissance building in this area that's so medieval in town. So you can see the definitely the contrast in architectures, but this makes a superb photo opportunity. And usually when clients take the tour from Florence, tours will stop so that they can get a photo op of this church. Or if clients are driving through Tuscany on their own, it's a great place to stop. Look at the cypress, look at the hills in the background. This is what you're paying for when you go to Tuscany. This is classic beauty there. Okay, our next slide. We're going to get to, again, the tiny streets. And if you can notice that restaurant on the left and there's one on the right, there's only one table outside. Most of the restaurants in town will have their alfresco dining, their outdoor dining at the back of the restaurant, because you're going to get views over the hillside versus just staring at the street. They want you to look at that outside dining. So when your clients go to a restaurant there, they'll ask, do you want inside or outdoor dining? And their jaw will drop when they say the outdoor and they get on their terrace overlooking the spectacular rows and rows of vines of Montepulciano. Of course, the boar is the most important meat product of the area. So we have a lot of shops selling salamis. Salumeria, that's a shop that sells sausages and salamis. So again, typical for the area. Of course, the wine shop has to be in every small town. You can see the bottle of Chianti hanging there, the garlic that you can buy. And again, how rustic does that look? Even outside of the building, the very medieval brickwork from there, but so charming, almost a San Gimignano vibe without the towers when you're walking through Montepulciano. And yes, they still have their selection of French champagne when you go there, if you're celebrating something special. Here's the main church in town. And if you look at that and contrast it with the Renaissance looking alabaster sanctuary, you can see the difference. This is actually getting into a Renaissance look, but definitely more on the medieval side, and the main church in the main square in this teeny tiny town. Look at you can even see the hill from it, right? Because Montepulciano, like most Tuscan towns, is built on a hill. This is on a huge limestone ridge. So if you look to the right and you look to the left, you can see that this little shop is actually on both the downward side and the upgoing hillside. So that's, your clients are it's just charming. They want to get lost in these little towns. There's specialty jewelry there, you know, the Buckles twins, they have to go shopping when they're there. Here's a market. Every town will have their market. So pastas, beautiful fresh fruit, chestnuts, that's so typical in so many European towns. Mushrooms. How typical is that for Italy? So if clients are going to be cooking on their own there, one day they're going to cook in at their little villa or their little apartment, they can buy some great goods in town. This is the example of the restaurant that literally you see just a restaurant from the street side and don't know that this magnificent view is waiting as your clients walk to their table dining al fresco and they see the wrought iron railing overlooking the stunning, for miles, Tuscan hills, just spectacular. So now we have to get to, of course, Montepulciano is a wine town. And again, food and wine in Tuscany, they just go hand in hand. So when we talk so much wine, Tuscany is all about the wine. This is in October when Susan and I were at the same trip. We did the Chianti stop. And again, we love going in October just because then you can just see so much more of the beauty coming out, especially on the vines. One of our wineries, the entranceway is all cypress trees. Clients can actually do a beautiful sit down, I want to say 12-course meal here that is spectacular, matched with their wines. Not inexpensive, but likely the one day that your clients will talk about forever when they talk about their trip to Tuscany. And again, we really want clients to do this with a driver, not on their own, so that somebody can't drink. If they're going to be spending that much money, you might as well get the driver guide so you can at least partake of the beautiful wine. Another one of our wineries that we love, Poliziano in Montepulciano. Montepulciano, by the way, is a blend. It's a blended wine. So the same grape as they would use in Chianti, they will use here. It's just a different cloned version of it, and it's a blend. So now we're going to move over to about 25 miles west to Montalcino. Now, In Italy, as in most countries, wine has a hierarchy. The hierarchy for Italy is people consider Barolo to be the king of wines. Barolo is a town in Piedmonte that is very close to Milan if people are going to visit Barolo. Gorgeous town, beautiful setting of the rolling hills leading up to the Alps. Montalcino is what they consider the queen of Italian wine. It is my personal favorite, and there is no better place to taste this wine than to go to the spectacular wine town of Montalcino. Whereas Montepulciano looked very medieval and more of a, let's call it a mom and pop vibe as you walk through the city. Montalcino, if you can consider it, is your shishi lala walking through the streets. Pristine streets. This is their clock tower that the main street leads up to. All those shops that you see on the left and right, immaculate. They are immaculate shops. It's very fairy tale-like when you walk through these streets. Doesn't look at all like Montepulciano, but it still is just one of those towns that you shouldn't miss, especially if people are doing a day tour up from Rome, or they're going to be doing the southern district of Tuscany from Florence. Both of these towns will be in it. Of course, ceramics from Tuscany that we all covet when we get there, but certainly a little bit too hard to bring the big ones back. One of the shops that I was talking about, and you can see by when you look inside just how immaculate it is, and the pristine window, the ceramic sign beside it. It's just beautiful. It culminates at the Fortezza, which is the fortress in English. This is the ruins of a fortress, which is the very highest part of the town. And although it's just the ruins of, and you can't go into any rooms there because there's nothing to see, it is still a fantastic corner to walk around and imagine what was going on in the times of medieval times, at the times of the Renaissance, when the Medici were in power, how everybody was always under siege. So we're in now, we're in the Brunello di Montalcino area. So we're going to go inside the world's best, and I also have some of it behind me here, Enoteca for Montalcino wine. This is a must-do stop when your clients are in Montalcino. Even if they are driving and somebody has to be a designated driver, they do have buckets where they can spit, but it shouldn't be missed. You can get wines by tasting anywhere from €5 to €50 per little tasting. That's how expensive the wine can be here. Here's the spot where you want to bring back your Montalcino because you've got so much selection for people there. That's why they stop in there as well. Here's a little tasting that you can do when you're there. You can tell the person behind the counter, I like a wine with a bite. Your clients can say, I like a wine that's aged. I like a wine that's mid, that's got a lot of fruit forward. These people behind the desk will help your clients out for anything they want to taste there. They also have little canapes you can get, some bruschetta. They have little plates of pasta they can get, olive oil with bread, of course. All this is so Tuscan, and everything in the town is Tuscan, right from what is selling in the shops to what is made. Of course, this town's main employment is wine, which is why we're talking about it as a wine town. There's our fabulous staff behind the desk. So much fun, such a great time for clients. We do private tastings there for clients when they do have a private driver, and we set up a beautiful tasting. We have the canapes, the bruschetta, the pastas, and then they lead them through the tasting, which is really nice. They are in the Fortezza for about an hour and a half. And again, it's just one of those days where your clients will say, best day we had in Tuscany, easily in the Montalcino and Montepulciano end. Outside the town, of course, we've got beautiful hills of Tuscany. This is looking outside from the Fortezza. We've got all the wineries that are in the area with the cypress. One recommendation, clients should always have a booking when they're going to go for if they want a lead tasting or if they want a tour of the wine facilities and their cellar. They should always have a booking, especially in high season, because most of these places their bookings will be done by about a month before the clients go, so they'll be sold out. Also, what's important is your clients need an English speaker, and they're not always available, so they should always have a booking. My second tip, two tips actually. My first tip is get your clients a map, a hard copy map from an Amazon or a Chapters or a bookstore, Barnes & Noble, just so they can get that touchy-feely of where they're going and highlight for your clients every little wine town or every little Tuscan town that you have on their itinerary so that they can get a mental image of where they're going. It's kind of a nice touchy-feely. The second thing is, and I go back to a movie every time, but if you want to recommend to your clients a movie, Under the Tuscan Sun, classic. Cortona is a 30-minute drive from Montepulciano. So if they see that movie, they're going to be able to see the vineyards of the area, the beautiful town of Cortona that is also one of the best sites to see when clients are in Tuscany. So my 2 tips: get a map and have your clients watch the movie. Now, Susan is going to touch on one of the most famous towns in Umbria.
Thank you, Sandy. So we are in Tuscany, and right next door to Tuscany is the area of Umbria, this province of Umbria. So if we take a look here, we've got Assisi just to the east of Perugia. So why do people go to Assisi? Why Assisi? Many of you out there know already. Assisi is the birthplace of St. Francis of Assisi. St. Francis of Assisi is one of the most venerated saints of the Catholic Church. The time of St. Francis is in the late 1200s. The church was started right after his death. This then became a pilgrimage site from that moment. So really, since the late 13th century, pilgrims have been making their way to Assisi. They still make their way there today. During high season, it is packed and it can be hot. The last time we were in Assisi, it was 43 degrees for days in a row. So if clients are going to go to Assisi, or they tell you they want to go to Assisi, more than likely they're not in their 20s. More than likely they're older. I would recommend that they go in September or October. You don't want to go all this way and then be consumed by exhaustion because of heat. So do it and make the suggestion to your clients to go from mid-September on. Maybe the first week, second week of October would actually be a fantastic time, because you're going to get the beautiful weather. You're not going to get the heat. So other than St. Francis, why would you go to Assisi? Why would the average person go if they don't want to know about the saint? This town is full of history. It's full of art. It's full of fantastic food. It's full of other churches they can visit. And at the top of the town is a castle. So a truly medieval town. This itself is the basilica. This is the main square. The building that you see dead center, the entrance that you see dead center, is the entrance to the church. Once clients go inside the church, there's an altar at your left. On the right of that altar are stairs. The stairs take you down to the sarcophagus of St. Francis, and people will go down maybe once, maybe twice, just so that they can, because that first time clients go down below, they're overwhelmed. Come up top, walk around a little bit, and then take another visit down to that sarcophagus area, where there's also somewhat of a museum where you can see other items there as well. These frescoes that are in this building, in this basilica, are done by Giotto, very famous artist, painter of the 13th century. So he did these frescoes. So onto wet plaster, he did his artwork, extremely well known. This is now the front of the church. So the church, the basilica, is on 2 levels. The first level that we saw at the beginning by the square, which is on the left of the screen, the entrance to that main altar is on that main level down below. This is actually what I'm going to call the second level of the church. You go upstairs, and this is where you see the Giotto frescoes. In fact, they're on each side of the door that you see there. And then when you exit that door, you're at a higher level of Assisi. Assisi is truly a hilltop town, and it is built on different levels. So we're going to see some of that. This is a very well-known statue of St. Francis on a horse. Also known for its food. We're in Tuscany still. Take a look at just some of the delights that your clients can indulge in. Suggest that they grab a few rather than having a gelato or a dessert in the area at the restaurant that they're in. Grab one of these, head back to the hotel, and we will see some views soon of from one of our hotels that we use in Tuscany. But take a look at these. Unbelievable, just fantastic treats that are available. Almost doesn't matter where you go in Tuscany, you're going to find Roman ruins. Assisi is no different. take a look at these ruins that are just in magnificent condition, so well preserved in Assisi. This is one of the squares that's at the top of the town. Continuing on, just in that square, if you walk a little ways and you look to your left, you see the castle. Again, it's not the kind of castle when you think of some of the castles that are in the Loire Valley in France. This one doesn't have anything inside, but clients can, if they're able to, they can walk up, enjoy a beer at the top at a small restaurant, and then walk back down. Or clients can take a taxi to the top. There are a handful of taxis in Assisi. They can take a taxi to the top and then walk down. Assisi is a pedestrian only zone. So cars that are there have special permission to be there, and they are tiny because those streets are extremely small, very narrow. So an average vehicle, even delivery vehicle, cannot get up there. So as you arrive in Assisi, there's a huge parking lot. There will be vehicles that will come down, pick up some wares, and then they go back up. If you have clients that are unable to walk, we can arrange to have a taxi meet them there and take them up into the town. But if clients are going to Assisi, really have to stress that it is a hilly town. If they want to go to see the Basilica, they will be doing some up and down walking. Now, these are gentle slopes. These aren't, very steep stairs. They're gentle slopes, but slopes nonetheless. Here's a bit of a close-up of the castle as you arrive near the top there. And then just as you walk down any street, you look to the left and you'll see beautiful restaurants, immaculate storefronts, beautiful flowers in the area. Look at the pots on the left, those little geranium pots. They are dotted throughout this entire town, very floral in nature. This is the other side of the Basilica square, the square with the Basilica. You can see the Basilica in the distance there. This happens to be from the balcony of one of the hotels. And then on the left, you can see the Umbrian Valley. If we continue on, here's a picture in the evening as night falls. We always recommend, tell your clients, big suggestion. If you've seen something during the day, go back at night, try and see it at sunset or see it when the sun is completely gone and it's lit. Beautiful, absolutely stunning photographic moments that they can have. Continuing on, just a picture of the beautiful Umbrian Valley. Again, we are not in Tuscany, we're now in Umbria, where food is slightly different. So absolutely fantastic food in the Umbrian region as well. Just to give you an idea of the streets, this is right after the archway when you enter Assisi. So it slopes up to the left right away and down straight ahead of you. And this happens throughout the town. So up, down slopes. Not so much like Venice, where you're always going up and down steps at bridges. These ones are gentle slopes and no stairs. Okay, but imagine vehicles going down here. You can see that a vehicle will not make it. So they are really tiny vehicles that have permission to be in this area. Here is the main square at night for the Basilica of St. Francis. And just to show you some of the purple, the pink skies, this is off the balcony of one of our hotels. Clients had this enormous balcony. This is Santa Maria degli Angeli. This is the name of the town that is below Assisi. And this is the main church that's there, another important church. But the view that you're seeing here is from the balcony of one of the hotels that we have clients in when they're in Assisi. And now continuing on, we're going to go far to the north here and go to the Cinque Terre with Sandy.
Okay, thank you, Susan. So the Cinque Terre are 5 towns all along the coast. And the meaning of Cinque Terre literally is 5 land. So five towns on the land. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. You can get there on a day trip from Florence very easily. If your clients only have 1 day to spare from Florence, they can do this train around 8:30 or 9 o'clock and be back in Florence by 9 o'clock. Even do a stop in Pisa en route. The largest of the towns is Monterosso, right at the very top there, the far left. And when I say largest, I mean really a small town. This is 1 street pretty much with tiny streets that may radiate out from it. Monterosso itself has the best beach. When people say, I want to go to the Cinque Terre because I want to go to the beach, The town you need to put them in is Monterosso. The others have a really small beach. Some don't have any at all because they're on a cliff actually. But Monterosso has the largest beach. It's split up into 2 sections. This is the beach that's the largest. You can rent an umbrella there and a chair. Behind it are restaurants that you can grab snacks for the beach. Really a delightful day to spend, either if you're going for 2 or 3 days or you're going just on the day from Florence. I mean, look at the foliage. You can tell that you're on the Mediterranean when you're in the Cinque Terre. It's absolutely spectacular. The scenery is beautiful. A lot of Mother Nature here, something that you might find in southern Portugal in the Algarve, if you're going to have kind of an example. But if you look at even this photo that's taken from Monterosso to the left, which would be towards Vernazza, the next town, this is what you're getting at. Absolutely beautiful. Food right from the sea, of course, fresh, caught daily, because the fishermen are going out and they're bringing their wares in the early morning for the restaurants. The other thing is the streets. They're so picturesque. There's terraces over. This is Vernazza, the next town. So one of the 5 towns, the next one is Vernazza, and there are 5. The other towns are Cornigia, Manarola, and Rio Maggiore. Again, Vernazza with the clock tower, pristine. There's 3 ways, this is coming back by ferry actually into Monterosso, but there's 3 ways really that clients can get between the towns, and that is they can go on the hike, on the walk that's at the top of the cliff that overlooks all of the towns. They can go by train. The train stops at each of the 5 towns. Our preferred way to tell clients is to go by ferry. When you go by ferry, you see the photos that people will see of Italy that looks like a town is tumbling into the sea. This is where they get that look. So when you approach Vernazza, you would get that look of all the buildings are going to start tumbling right into the water. The water is, look at the color blue. I mean, you think of that typically in the Caribbean. The blue color in the Mediterranean, in the Cinque Terre, is gorgeous. And of course, the closer you get in, you can literally see through to the bottom. Now, all of the towns are worth a visit if they're staying 2 or 3 nights. If they're only going on a day tour from Florence or just taking the train, again, easy to do, in and out, they can just do 1 town by ferry. If they're going to try to do more towns, they're going to run out of really their wandering time. And you don't want them to go there, as Susan says, see everything and see nothing. So they would see Monterosso and Vernazza if they're coming from Florence for the day, and stop, have lunch in town, maybe bring your swimsuit. This is at dusk, just before we actually took the train back. We do the day trip a lot from Florence just to get our Monterosso fix and our Cinque Terre fix. Another one of this is the restaurant that's over that beautiful beach with the umbrellas that they can rent, the chairs. I always say it looks like Elton John sitting there, but Susan and Peter don't agree with me. Doesn't that from a distance kind of look like Elton John would be sitting there? But maybe it's just me in my dreams. Okay, now on to Peter, who's going to take us through to one of Tuscany's finest gems, Pisa.
Okay, 50 miles west of Florence is the former major maritime power, Pisa. Needless to say, it is no longer a major maritime power. Today, its biggest attraction is the Piazza dei Miracoli, or the Field of Miracles, where are found the cathedral, the baptistry, and without doubt, its most famous building. This is the baptistry right here. Its most famous building, the Campanile, or the bell tower. You might know it as the Leaning Tower of Pisa. In a Boutique Escapes package, when clients want to visit Pisa, on request, we will include skip the line tickets, which are a must for those who would like to climb its 250 steps to the top. Views from up there are spectacular of the cathedral, the baptistry, the town of Pisa, and the surrounding countryside. We'll wait for the next. There we go. If your clients are a little unsteady on their feet, this may not be the place for them, as the floor is, of course, uneven and somewhat slippery. No danger of falling off, though. 11th century cathedral and baptistry are certainly overshadowed by the tower, without a doubt, but they're magnificent on their own and worth a visit if clients have time. From the train station, it is an approximate 10-minute taxi ride to the Piazza dei Miracoli. And on a nice day, if they aren't in a hurry, you might want to suggest to your clients to walk back to the station after their visit. It is a pleasant 25-minute walk. You cross the River Arno. You're in mainly a pedestrian zone for most of it, lined with shops and restaurants. Pisa can be visited from Florence, as Sandy mentioned, on a day trip. It's about a 1-hour train ride from Florence, or it can be a stop on the way back from Monte Rosso to Florence. Clients can securely check their luggage at the baggage depot. It's found right in the train station in Pisa before heading to Piazza dei Miracoli.
Thank you, Peter.
I just want to quickly add that we've just touched on a little bit of Tuscany. There are many beautiful towns that we haven't even spoken about, that being Cortona, the one that I mentioned by Montepulciano. There is Lucca, that is spectacular. Arezzo, the beaches by Via Reggio. If you've got families going in the summertime, this is a super place. So there are many more places in Tuscany that Boutique Escapes can talk to you about, or talk to you and your clients about. We do conference calls with clients and yourselves, if that's something that you'd be interested in. But we do want you to know that Tuscany is huge and there is a lot to see there. We've only touched a little bit, and we kind of salt and peppered in Assisi and the Cinque Terre. Our next one coming up is Venice. Sorry, Susan, go ahead.
Thank you, Sandy. Well, we have come to the end of our presentation, the end of our webinar, and I would like to thank everyone who has joined us and remind everyone that the recording will be on Zoom and then on our Boutique Escapes YouTube channel. And if you would like to send a request to us, we have our email addresses up on the screen here. Sandy's is a .com, whereas Peter and I have a .ca. Everyone's is slightly different. And I do want to thank everyone and tell you that the photos we used are copyright from dreamstime.com and Boutique Escapes. And I do want to get to the chat to answer some of the questions that you have here. Let's go here. We've got Roy, who's asking, in some of the smaller villages, how are they at accommodating dietary restrictions, such as gluten-free for celiacs? Okay, a very good question. Many areas you're going to find that they can do food that is gluten-free. Now, if your client is diagnosed celiac and they can't even be around the spores that are in flour get into other products, if that's how big of a problem this is, this diagnosis, then we would really have to search out places that would have gluten-free where they don't even use any flour in the building. That I would have to look into. But if you mean they need gluten-free, you can find it all over Tuscany. You can find it in packages, so crackers and other items in packages. You can also find it in restaurants. So they will say gluten-free, but that doesn't mean that that factory or that kitchen doesn't actually use flour. If your client needs something where there's absolutely no flour that's been used, then that's a different story, and we'd have to talk about that. You could send to us. Next question is, what's the name of the town that you said is a one-street town with the rooster? That is Rada in Chianti. And next question, would you include treat your driver guide in your lunch? What's proper? You would not. You would generally give you can correct me, Sandy, if you want to add anything, but you would generally tip your driver at the end. The drivers should not be drinking while they're driving, so they're not going to drink. But if you wanted to ask your driver, if you got along with your driver, the English was great, and you wanted to sit and chat and hear about life, you could ask your driver. It's up to you to enjoy lunch with you. You would obviously have to pay for that driver's lunch, because the drivers generally are going to go out and grab a sandwich, or maybe they have one, but they probably wouldn't do a big fancy meal in a winery. That's my advice to you. Often the drivers will tell you that they're not going to leave their vehicle. They might just drop you off, for example, in Grevy, and then say, meet me in this same spot when you leave. So in that way, you may not be near them at lunchtime, but certainly if you were, it would be up to you. I know that on our tours, when we have done groups, we always invite the driver to have lunch with us. Driver's always included, and we pay for the driver. The driver does not drink. Obviously, he's sitting with the group and he's drinking water. But if you tip the driver afterwards, that's always nice, always nice. And we will, if you ask us, we'll let you know approximately what the tip should be. And sometimes right on the itinerary, we'll include it and say, you know, tip approximately, and we'll tell you the clients how much. Often clients don't have an idea, especially if they've had a driver for a day, or the driver is taking them maybe from Rome all the way to Florence. It's not a train, they're taking a driver. They want to know what they should tip that driver. Anything to add to that, Sand?
No, I think that's good. I mean, in most cases, the drivers will go off, like you said, and get a sandwich. But absolutely, if you feel like inviting your driver or your guide to sit with you at lunch, that's appropriate. And then you would pay for their lunch. And typically, as Susan said, they wouldn't be drinking.
Thank you. Just saw a movie I'd pass along as a starter, Made in Italy with Liam Neeson. Haven't seen it. We'll be looking on Netflix for that one tonight. Next, I'm going to go to my other chat here where it appears I may have missed some questions. Give me a second here. Does anyone see anything I may have missed?
No, I think you covered
No,
everything.
I think you got it.
Okay, good,
Yep.
good. I think we're good here.
Yep.
Okay, so as I said earlier, if you would like to send a request to us, please do so. You see our emails on here, and the recording will be available. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We are pretty much right on the money with our 1 hour here. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.